Cool. It's great to be back. Good to see everyone again. So today we're talking about the Fast Five, which is the name of a workflow automation that we have. It's actually a recipe automation that we have in HighLevel, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. But before I show it to you, I think it's important to talk about why it exists. And this recipe exists because it stems all the way back to one of the most root issues with an agency, which is churn, right? And so what do we mean by churn? We mean the rate at which an agency retains its clients. We did an internal study a few years ago now that revealed what was kind of a shocking truth, but when we all kind of sat back and like took an honest look at the businesses that we've built as a community, it rang true, which is that the churn rate for an agency is the average agency is above 60%, which means you retain clients at a rate of 40 something percent, which when you put your emotions aside and you look at that as a truth, it makes a lot of sense, and it explains a lot of things, right? Like if you've ever felt like your agency journey has been a roller coaster, well, this is why, right? It's churn. You can't ever get ahead if, every time you take 2 steps forward, you have to take 2 or 3 or half a step back. And it also makes it really hard to be a great agency, right? Because in order to like really do great work, you kind of have to get, your clients to a certain level, and then you can elevate them more, and then you can go deeper into things like their processes and stuff like that. But oftentimes you don't get to go there if you lose them in month 3 or whatever. And it's funny because we are, so that study was a few years ago, right? And then we're in the process of booking a co-webinar with CallRail, and they sent over their trends report that they're about to publish based on the data that they have from their customers in 2022. And one of the number one things was churn. And there was a stat in there that said they found that the churn rate was just about the same. I think it was like 57% in their report. So, it's been a few years since we ran our numbers, and it was really fascinating to see that their fresh numbers are pretty much the same, which just illustrates the fact that this is still a major problem. So, excuse me, I'm just getting over a little cold. But when we step back and say, okay, well, why is this, right? We determine 2 things. One is most agencies don't have a playbook that they run immediately, which is, hey, if I asked you all who are watching, how long does it take to kick off your first campaign? If you're running ads, you'll probably say a week, a couple of days if you're really good. If you're doing SEO, you'll tell me a month, right? Maybe 2 months, who knows? And so the problem with that is that as soon as a client sends you that check or runs their credit card, like every hour that passes, they're sitting there wondering, was this a good decision? And if days are passing, it's just building up in their minds. They're wondering what's going on, et cetera. And so the relationship often starts on that rocky foot, because as we all know, even when the campaign launches, it has to run for a certain period of time. And then we're just going to get data back. And then that's when we kind of really start, right? So if we think about that, how much time has passed, the client the whole time is just sitting there thinking, was this a good idea? And wait a minute, you got to be kidding me. You told me the first campaign would kick off in a week. Well, it did. Well, here we are a month later. Well, we're just getting the first set of data back. And, it's not what we were hoping it would be, but we're going to make it better, right? These are the types of things that just murder a relationship from the beginning. And so at HighLevel, we talk a lot about some like automated stuff that you can install on day one to bridge that gap, right? To get more leads coming in off through the traffic that they're already getting to their Google business profile or their website or whatever. And we can go into those things if you want. But the second big piece of that conversation is basically the Fast Five. What is the Fast Five? It's based on a study, a finding that essentially there is a 5-minute shot clock when it comes to new leads. This guy, some smart guy, I don't know if he still is, but he was a professor at MIT. He did like this big study on leads. And the number one finding was that, speed to lead is everything, essentially. That there's like, after the 5-minute point, if a lead hasn't been engaged, statistically, you have like no shot at closing it, right? It goes down by like 80-something%. Versus if you can engage a lead in the first 5 minutes, your odds of closing that lead drastically skyrocket. And so when I first saw that, for me, I was like, wow. And I started reflecting on what we were doing at the agency that I built, which was what a lot of us still do, right? Hey, we run a lead generation campaign. We generate leads. Those get sent in an email to the client. You've got a new lead. Here's their name, their email, their phone number. Here's the form that they filled out or whatever. And that's kind of like job done, right? That's what we do. We're a lead gen agency. We just generated you a ton of leads. And, I can remember a lot of conversations that ended up like this. And this is like one of my favorite memes. I actually made this meme, so hopefully you enjoy it. And this illustrates that, it's the first call, right? It's been 30 days or whatever. We'd hop on the phone. Account manager would be like all excited to let this med spa know that we just generated 120 Botox leads for $6 a pop. And the client wasn't thrilled. They were actually telling us that they were canceling, right? And it was like, wait, what are you talking about? We just generated you an insane amount of leads for this ridiculously low cost. What do you mean you're thinking about leaving? And they're going, well, none of these people showed up. None of these people called us. None of these people bought anything from us. So like, why would we stick around? Like, these leads stink. Like, you must be just generating the worst leads. And that's really kind of a light bulb moment, right? And that's what really illustrates the problem here. And if you dig deeper into it, you'll find that the truth that I've come to is that clients are used to referrals. They are used to people who have been already pre-sold by friends, family, reviews, whatever. They're showing up ready to buy, right? That's not a close, right? That's like, they're just basically taking money from people, which is a world away from a lead generated off of Facebook, right? We know this. And so for me, that's the core challenge, is this misalignment of what lead generation is and what it's going to do for a business. Businesses think, oh, more of what I already see, which is referrals. Agencies think, leads off the internet, I hope you know how to close them. And that's really how you can change the game for your agency and for your clients, is if you make that realization and understand, we have to go further. Our job does not end with just generating a lead, because our clients don't know what to do with them. And if you haven't looked into what's going on in your clients' businesses when you send them those emails, for us, it was kind of really shocking. Like, we would say, oh, Dr. Bob, who's in charge of these leads that we've been sending you? And oftentimes it would be a very young person at the front desk who was dealing with people coming through the door. They were answering phone calls. They were picking up lunch. They were, I remember taking out the trash. I remember one girl telling me, well, I have to walk Dr. Whatever's dog 3 times a day as well. And so it's just like, of course, this person is not following up with every lead in 5 minutes. They're not even following up with the leads, period. And so that's kind of what evolved into the Fast Five. So the Fast Five is an automation, and I'll share my screen real quick and I'll show it to you. Let me just hop into an account here.
So while you're doing that, Chase,
Yeah.
a quick question for you that just came in from Ashton, one of our partners.
Cool.
Talking about churn, like it was just more of a clarification. So is that over the lifetime of the agency, or is that like, are they looking at monthly churn, annual churn, or like how did you guys quantify that? And then do you know how CallRail was doing that? I know that's, we have early access to that with that information. So I don't know if you know the methodology.
Yeah. I can't speak for CallRail. For us, it basically we were looking at a few different factors, but basically I think what this question is asking is, on average, what we found, an agency would retain the average client for 3.5 months. Okay. And so if that rings true to you, it's exactly what we saw across the board, which is on average, you get a client today, they're gone in 3 to 4 months. And that's a problem, right? How could you forecast a business? How could you do a lot of things if you're turning over clients that frequently? So let me hop in here. So this is our workflow builder. And when you go to create a new one, oops, so that's not our workflow builder. This is, and when you go to create a new one, there's a bunch of recipes here. We actually have a Fast Five and a Fast Five Lite now, but let's talk about the original one. So if we load this up, you've got a trigger at the top. So typically people are running Facebook lead ads, right? So we'd say, okay, whenever this, we'd select the form, we'd say when this Facebook lead ad form submitted, go do these things. And a lot of this is tied to other things, right? So this is creating an opportunity in a pipeline so that we can track it, right? And then we do what we always do. We send the email. Hey, thanks for claiming this offer. Next step, book something. Here's the link to the calendar, etc. Right? We're all doing that. But then here's where you can really change things. A conversational text message. And to me, this isn't even conversational enough. In the Fast Five Lite, there's a better message in here, which would be something like, hey, Chase, thanks for claiming that. Thanks for claiming that free teeth whitening session, right? Let's say we're working with a dentist. And then I would put like, have you ever had your teeth whitened before?
Nice.
Right? Because that doesn't feel salesy, right? That feels very conversational. And it's a question which prompts me to answer. And so if I can get my leads answering this question, I've got them engaged in the first 5 minutes. And statistically, I just changed the game just by getting them to say yes or no, they have whitened their teeth or they haven't. And so from this, we can do some really cool stuff, right? So that message gets sent, and then we have a wait step here that's going to wait 2 minutes, or if they reply. So if they reply to that SMS in less than 2 minutes, they go down this path. And then we can use, this is Google's dialogue flow, which is built into HighLevel. So it's AI that would actually read the reply and determine if the reply was positive or negative. So I can know without actually having to go and read the text if they replied that they have or they haven't had their teeth whitened before. And then I can automate off of that, right? So, oh, great, you have had your teeth whitened. Awesome. Whatever I want to say. Or, oh, you haven't? Okay, great. Here are some things that you might need to know, whatever. But the point is, we've automatically started a conversation in the first 5 minutes, which statistically is going to give us something like an 80-something% shot at closing this lead. Now, what if they don't reply to that first text message? Well, 2 minutes later, they would go down this path. And here's where we do our call connect, which is something that's very cool. I had never even knew this was possible before I joined the team at HighLevel. And so let's check out what happens. When a lead hits this step, the system calls the business, right? Your client, Dr. Bob, the dentist. And when they answer, a robot reads whatever's in here. So I could put like, Chase's awesome agency generated another free whitening lead. And then I could say the lead's name is, and then I've got the lead, I've got that there. Press any key to connect with them. So imagine I'm at the front desk at Dr. Bob's, the phone rings, I answer it, and I hear, Chase's awesome agency just generated another whitening lead. The lead's name is Susie. Press any key to connect with Susie. If I push a button on the phone, then it calls the lead. And if the lead answers, it connects the call. So here we're trying to actually put your client on the phone with the lead 2 minutes after the lead was generated. Again, but only if they didn't answer the text message already above. From there, we roll into a ringless voicemail. So these are cool. It's just you upload an MP3 file and the lead's phone doesn't actually ring. They just get the notification that they have a new voicemail. And then we go from there, right? We probably wait a day and then nurture some more. But if you step back and we look at the difference between just sending an email to your client saying, hey, here's some information, hope you know what to do with it, versus this where we're throwing emails, text messages at them, AI, trying to get them on the phone, we're sending voicemails. It's a world of difference, right? And so when the agency that I was building was one of the first high-level customers, when we implemented a very early version of this, we saw our lead to booking rates jump by 60 to 70% across all of our clients that we started using it for. And that was just because, again, it all goes back to statistics, right? We're not relying on humans who are not going to meet the time frame. We're just guaranteeing that every lead is going to get, at least attempted to be engaged. And so 3 things basically happen. You start running ads. A small percentage of them go down the ideal path. They reply to the automated text positively. They reply to the follow-up. They receive a booking link and they book. Or they engage with the automation, but they're asking questions, right? And that's fantastic too, because it's like, hey, Dr. Bob, a portion of these people are just going to be asking questions about your business. So you guys just need to reply and then close them by making sure that you're sending them the booking link, right? And some of those questions we can even automate as well, right? We can build automations that look for key phrases in messages like location, where are you located, pricing, this kind of stuff. And then some people will just not do anything, right? And that's when it becomes important to have a longer term nurture in place. And we used to say, look, a percentage are going to book right away without your staff getting involved. A larger percentage are going to ask questions. Your staff should be answering them, sending the booking link. And then this third portion, we're going to nurture them for 12 months. So, we're going to get some of them back as the months go by. And again, all of that together just adds up to a world of difference compared to when you're just sending the email. And so I mentioned the Fast 5 Lite. It's basically the same thing, but without like pipelines tied in and stuff like that. But let me turn that off. And it looks like we got a few questions here. So why don't we hop into it?
Yeah. So these questions are actually more based on your plans for your platform or the stats. So there was one because you talk about agencies with SaaS or without SaaS, which I think you can talk a little bit about in terms of a retention play. So I think first to deal with that one I'm assuming, I'm going to try to answer it for you and then correct me if I'm wrong, but when people aren't doing like a SaaS offering, that is what you're referring to when it comes to agents, like the churn rate there. You're seeing that 3.5 months for folks is that for service-based work? Is that 100%? Kind of where you're going?
And then let's talk about that. So in the beginning, I mentioned like, hey, the first thing that we usually talk about is these automated things that you can set up, and that's SaaS, right? That's the software side of things, and that's really what we're all about. Like, we want to be the all-in-one tool and give you everything you need, but really the mission is to enable you to run SaaS and services. The churn rate on SaaS across all industries is around 5%.
Mhm.
right? And we compare that to like 50 something, 60% with agency services, that should make you stop and think. And so what you're able to do, and what we try to help agencies do, is fire up the SaaS arm of your business that costs, let's say, $197 a month, $297 a month, $397 a month, and then layer services on top of it, so that when your client tells you they're canceling, they cancel the service, but they continue to pay the software, right? You're running two separate charges. The software becomes the utility bill. They continue to pay it. And then what often happens is, as I'm sure many of you listening, we've got a good amount of people here, have seen, is that they'll come back, right?
Mhm.
And this was another really eye-opening realization that took me years to come across, which is it doesn't matter if you do a really good job or a really bad job, your client will cancel,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know if we talked about this before, but like, put your hands up if you've had a client tell you, well, you got us to page one, so why would we keep paying you for SEO, right? Or we're getting flooded with these leads. You need to turn it off. Like, we can't handle this many new customers. Like, it's been great, but you got to turn this off. Like, it's blowing my business apart at the seams.
Mhm.
Right. I've had that
Yep.
one a lot.
Yeah, that one happens to our, and not to, this is like a humble brag, guys does a problem, right? But it happens to a lot of our partners where they don't know how to handle, that objection now from them saying, hey, like, I can't work with you anymore. We have too many leads. But I think what Chase is about to get to with this particular, like with these offerings, is it protects your business. And also it gives you another at bat for, hey, do you want help with turning those bookings or those leads into more sales? And kind of, it gives you the ability to upsell or cross sell. It can turn a cancellation into something. And even if they do cancel, if you're using some sort of SaaS offering, you're going to be in good shape, because it's not a complete, race to zero at that point.
100%. And it's like, when you shift. So let me finish that thought, and then we'll come back to this, where we're going. So if you understand that, wait a minute, if I suck, they're going to cancel. If I do a really good job, they're going to cancel, because this is the other sort of epiphany that took years to arrive at. The average business coming to an agency is not capable of 10xing their business, right? The average business is really, what they're really looking for is like a 30 to 60% increase around things. Like, that's about the most a business can handle before they would have to open a second location, or, make a really increased staffing and these types of things. So there really is like a small window of success that they're looking for. And if you blow through that, then yeah, they're going to tell you to turn it off, right? And so that's why we like to talk about shifting your agency's whole sort of strategy, in that, hey, we can build a huge software business without having to build software, right? I mean, assuming you use HighLevel, you could go use other tools and try to make it happen as well. But we make it pretty easy, where let's just focus on getting, people paying us $397 a month that aren't going to cancel. And then we have this very low pressure, service ladder, where it's like, yeah, you want to run ads? Fantastic. Great. We can do Google ads. We can do Facebook ads. Let's talk about it. If you need to turn it off, that's no problem. Oftentimes we see that, right? We'll take a business to its maximum point and they need to kind of recalibrate. So if you need to do that, no worries. It eliminates the pressure of the relationship, which is, you kind of made me think of a thought that, over the years I've arrived at as well, which is, whoever's being paid to run ads is the first one on the chopping block, right? Because customers see ads as like this magic bullet or bag of magic beans, right? They have this crazy expectation about what ads are going to do for their business. And as soon as they realize that that's not true, you're gone. And so I used to just look at that like, gosh, what is it about ads? Like, why is it so polarizing? Right. It's like, um, it's very hard to have like an amicable breakup when someone's leaving from an ad service.
Mhm.
And so that's why I really love shifting the model around, hey, you know, there's a ton of low hanging fruit that we can do for you, Mr. Business Owner, that our software will actually solve for you. And then if you want to like ramp it up from there, we have these services packages that we can turn on top of it. And if you want to dive into some of those things, we can go through them pretty quickly. Justin, you just let me know.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think we can dive into those. I want to get these two questions answered. Then I actually had another question in terms of like
Cool.
like kind of a good lead up for getting into like a fast five, like what type of offering. So first, James had another question. This is actually very specific to HighLevel's platform,
Okay.
which the AI part that you talked about that's looking at the positive versus negative responses to those things. Is that a part of the 297 plan? Like which plan is that in?
All the plans.
In all?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's just built in. It's really cool. It recognizes all sorts of stuff like, yes, yeah, awesome, let's do it, great, like all of that. It'll recognize it's positive, no, F off, like all that kind of stuff, negative. So like when you're doing reactivation campaigns and stuff, it can be super helpful because you don't have to go sift through
Mm,
like who's interested and who's not. You can let Dialogflow do that for you. So it's pretty cool.
that's awesome. And then Brett had a question about with Call Connect after hours, like when the business is not like how do you protect yourself in a way where a flow, because you can't really connect unless you confirm you want to connect with the person. But would that be it, or what's kind of going on there?
Oh no, you could just throw a wait step above it that has a window. So you
Okay.
can just do a wait of like 0 seconds, but it has a window of office hours or whatever. And so there's a bunch of different ways that you could do that if you wanted to get more granular and make sure that your client's not getting calls in the middle of the night. Um, so yeah, you can totally build around that.
Cool. And then my question before we also get to Tux, just because I'm doing, actually I can do Tux first because the attendees should get priority here. But after the Fast Five lead response flows, what are the other automated, like what other SaaS services are no brainers for a customer to implement? Would you say?
Yeah, so let's talk about that, right? And I think it's a lot of this is going to seem so simple, but when you set this stuff up, but well, first of all, I don't think it's a good idea. And Justin, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts
Yeah.
if you're just starting out in your agency journey to go after startup businesses, right? Like that can be something that people think is awesome because it's like, oh yeah, they don't have a website yet. They don't have anything yet. Like I'm going to be the one to launch this thing. Most startup businesses don't succeed, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that means they don't have ad budgets. They don't have money to spend on ads. It's an uphill battle from the beginning. And so hopefully you've learned that lesson. You want to work with businesses who have been in business for a while. And if that's your strategy, then there's this world of low-hanging fruit that you can utilize software to grab for your clients, right? And so the first one that we talk about is SMS. Most businesses today cannot text message with their customers, even though we all as humans prefer to text, right? And so getting a textable number for a business is the first easy win right off the bat, because you're just opening up the channel that we as consumers want to use that most businesses can't communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's also the only service that is ubiquitous across every device, right? Every phone comes with text messaging automatic, right? Like not every phone comes with Facebook Messenger installed or WhatsApp installed or Viber or all these things. Every phone has SMS. And so you get the number and then you put the chat widget on their site. And so if you guys haven't seen the HighLevel chat widget, it is it looks like a old school chat, like an old school live chat widget, but it's actually just a gateway into an SMS. So as soon as I send this message, it comes into HighLevel as a text. And when you reply from HighLevel or HighLevel mobile app, it goes back to their phone as an SMS, which is great because you decouple like how many times you've been on a website and you fill out the thing and it's like, oh, this company usually responds in 3 hours. And you're like, okay, am I
I
supposed to
don't have
sit
3 hours right now.
on this website for 3 hours? No, of course not. When you do it like this, they can leave the site, but you're carrying the conversation via SMS. And so right off the bat, you generate leads that were in the past hitting your client's site and then leaving because they're like, I'm not going to call them. I don't feel like filling out a big form. I'm out. But they would have sent a quick text had they had the ability to do so. So text enablement, number one. Number two is the missed call text back. So once you have a text enabled number, you can do a bunch of cool automations. And so one that's built into HighLevel is called the missed call text back, where a phone call comes in to this number and it doesn't get answered. Well, we just shoot a text right back to that number that says, sorry, Mr. Call, how can we help? Here's another crazy statistic. 62% of inbound phone calls to small businesses go unanswered every day.
That's
more
crazy.
than half of the phone calls that go to your clients every day don't get answered. Imagine if every one of them just got a text message right back, how much business you could save for a client, right? And so the missed call text back is super powerful, especially when, so here's a cool little thing that we do at HighLevel. When you buy a number, you have to put in a forwarding number, right? So it's like if somebody calls this new HighLevel number, where should the call actually ring at? And typically you put in the business's real number, right? So when you connect a Google business profile to HighLevel, if the Google business profile phone number matches the forwarding number, we will automatically move the phone number in Google Business to the second slot. Google Business profiles have 2 phone number slots. And then we move the new number in as the number 1. So now all the traffic that they get to their Google Maps listing or their local pack is the new HighLevel phone number, which means anybody who calls it who doesn't get an answer immediately gets a text message back. So when we talk about, statistically, more stats, the average small business gets over 1,000 visits a month to their Google Business profile. So if you think about how many calls are being generated from there and how many of those you can recoup, it becomes a huge opportunity. Leads me to the next automated opportunity, which is Google Business Chat. And this one, I'm always fascinated. If you're watching right now, in the chat, throw a 1 if you know what Google Business Chat is, throw a 2 if you've never heard of it before.
Of course, Ashton. he was at your event.
Oh, great. Okay, great. Cool. So yeah, a mixed bag, right? So what the heck is Google Business Chat? Well, Google has this service that you can enable in Google Business Profile called, now it's called Chat. When you turn it on in all the mobile search results and in Google Maps, it puts this extra icon here that now says Chat and enables you to send a message to the business through Google. The problem is businesses don't know exist. They don't know how to turn it on and they don't know how the heck to reply to the messages. So when you connect a Google Business Profile at HighLevel, we automatically turn it on and we pull those messages into the same conversation stream with everything else. We just talked about how much traffic the average business gets to their Google Business Profile. And we talked about how we all prefer to chat as opposed to talk. So what do you think happens when you turn on Google Business Chat for all the traffic that's going to their Google Business Profile? They start using it, right?
Yeah.
And the first time I ever turned it on after we launched this was for a friend of mine who has a restaurant. He was like, no, I don't want another thing to have to manage. And I'm like, no, it's all going to go to the same place. Don't worry. Turn it on. About an hour later, the first G&B chat comes in and it's like, hey, how do I get a gift certificate? And I'm like, there you go. The first one you got is somebody literally asking how they can throw money at you. You're welcome. So, think about what we just talked about. Give them the ability to text, right? Put a widget on their website that makes texting easy. Text back all the people who don't get an answered call. Activate Google Business Chat. right? We just have 4 things right now that when you add them up are hundreds of dollars a month in value. If you look at other products like Podium or things in the market. And then, there's a few more from there. I love this one, super easy. How many people know what a link tree is, or a link in bio page, right? Linktree, I think they're worth like over $1 billion now. I think they got like a ridiculous investment a couple of months ago. What the heck is a link tree? Well, you know how in your social media profiles, they only give you one link, right? And so everybody uses it to just link to their homepage. Most businesses' homepages are not very optimized for conversion or for mobile. So it's not a great experience. And so Linktree came along and they were like, oh, well, what if we just made like a mobile page generator that was a bunch of buttons, and you could put like, your homepage, YouTube channel, blog, whatever, and split your one link into multiple links. Genius, right? Well, this is super easy to build in HighLevel, but we can actually take them further, right? We could put the chat widget right on that page. We can put forms in there, videos, pop-ups, whatever. And so you can just go and make a template for your industry, all of your clients. And as part of your software package, you could say, we're going to optimize your social profiles for conversion, right? So imagine if Jan's Cafe, all of her social profiles linked to this. What do you think is going to happen? She's going to start generating leads right off of, the social profiles. And so that's just another example of something that's so easy to set up, whether you use HighLevel or not, right? It's just something that you could, you guys know how to do it, right? Put it on a subdomain in 2 seconds, right? Your client has no idea how to do that kind of stuff. And so it's just more easy value. And once you set these things up, and now you've got leads flowing in, the other one is when you connect Google and you connect the Facebook page, we pull in Facebook messages, but we also pull in the reviews from Google and Facebook and let you reply to them right in HighLevel. So imagine if, your team is working on the first ad campaign, but day 2, your client is seeing text messages from their website, Google chats off of their Google business profiles, leads coming in off their social media landing page that you set up. The reviews are popping up in the same place. And they're like, whoa, I didn't know we got positive reviews or whatever. And they can reply to the reviews right there. And there's a whole bunch of stats on like, businesses that have more reviews generate more business. They rank better. Businesses who reply to the reviews get more reviews, which in turn leads to ranking better and more sales. So these things collectively start happening day 1, day 2, day 3. Your client is just like, by the time your first campaign goes live, they're already blown away because they had no idea any of this stuff was possible, right? And now all of a sudden it's all happening in one place on their phone, in an app that you gave them that they're paying you for. And so that makes it so I should drop another stat here. When we launched what we call SaaS mode, it was in January of 2021. We pulled the first set of data in September of 2021, so 9 months later. And the churn rate on the SaaS revenue, right? Because we see when you go into SaaS mode, you connect a Stripe account. And when people sign up for your software, we see it, right? It goes into the system. The churn rate over the course of those 9 months was 0. Like nobody lost a SaaS customer in the first 9 months that we saw this running statistically. And so it just really illustrated the point that like, okay, this is what we thought it would be. If you open up SaaS for your business and you keep running services, the super low churn rate of your SaaS is going to balance out the pretty bad churn rate of your services. And now you get to a much more sustainable model. And that's kind of the big picture mission that we're after here, is just to continue to build in these things that you guys can easily set up for your clients that they'll happily pay for, to help you build a more sustainable agency.
No, that's really great stuff there. I think just the the different things that you can just lead with to get early, quick victories to buy you time to do the net new campaigns. Cause we all like the new is always the hardest, especially on the acquisition side of things. And I really, really thought your example of like where the disconnect is between agencies who are taking on new clients, where new clients are new clients are used to referrals, and referrals are essentially order taking, right? They're not used to an actual like top of funnel, middle of funnel kind of sequence. And it takes time to get that data in. So these are really, really great ways to kind of shock and awe, and then to get buy-in to then allow you to do some of those like higher profit like services side of things while protecting the client there. So that's all amazing stuff. We have a few more questions for you in here. And I'm going to jump around to some of these. I know some came in earlier, but I think actually we'll talk about the sequence first. So in the Fast Five sequence, this is more of a logistical question and logic question within the sequence. If someone answers the chat first, like does that negate the rest of the automation? Like, are there any jump points in that, or is it just a standard flow through it?
You mean if somebody on your client's team manually jumps in and sends a message?
Yeah, I think that's what he's referring to.
No, that wouldn't change anything. Although if you know people are going to do that, you just kind of train them to say like, hey, if you beat the automation somehow, apply this tag so that the automation doesn't continue to, or I mean, typically what you would do is, if we zoom back, what's the goal? The goal is to get them to book something, right? Most businesses need you to book something. So you have a separate workflow that triggers off of a booking and pulls them out of the first automation. So that should automatically be happening before you run into a problem.
Yeah. That's a good call out. And mostly if you're thinking about, like, this isn't a large scale automation. Like when you're thinking about the Fast Five, like this is a very, very particular type of automation that that moves quickly and likely deep, and is completed quickly in those cases. So it shouldn't be something that you're running into too much overlap on. But yeah, that's a great question there. These are the same question, just asked two different ways. If you're a new GHL client, or if you subscribe to the service there, with limited understanding of how things work, how can they get help with implementation or integrations or those things, and getting some of those things live?
Yeah. So we actually just revamped our entire onboarding to focus on the stuff I just talked about, because for years, what we would see is people would come in because they heard whatever they heard about HighLevel, and then you walk into the app and you're just like, oh my gosh, like I don't even know where to start, right? There's so much stuff that you can do in here. And so what happens now is, as soon as you sign up, you'll get emails and texts from our kickoff team. You hop on that call and they're going to walk through what we just talked about and a few more. Make sure that you understand how they work, how you set them up. There's a course that goes with it, so you can go back at your own pace, and it's actually more in depth, like step by step. It's actually me. I'll walk you through it step by step of how you set up each one of these things. And then honestly, what most people do is there are several people in our community who have sort of built support systems around SaaS mode. And so first of all, hopefully everybody knows how HighLevel works. You pay us one monthly fee, and then you can resell your software to as many people as you want for whatever price that you want above $97 a month. So it's very scalable in that sense. And the community models that, right? So you can go to like HL Pro Tools or Get Extendly, and they both offer ticketed support, white label, that you can install into your accounts, so that when your clients have questions, you don't even have to deal with them. They just go to their teams, right? And I think, they charge like $200 a month or something for all of your clients. So you can literally like set yourself up, invent your brand, get your site up, and just focus on selling. And like the software runs itself, but if they have questions, it could go to a white labeled support team. And that's when things kind of get really scalable. But yep, when you come in, you'll have a kickoff call. And then after the kickoff call, you can book with our implementation team, and they will build out more with you. So it's like, okay, do you want to set up calendars in your snapshot, or pipelines, or, these types of things? Let's get that set up for you. And a snapshot in HighLevel is essentially anything that you build out, you can save it all together and then roll it out for the next client. So like you could have landing pages and automations and email templates and all that kind of stuff just ready to go. And you can attach it to your SaaS configurator. So when someone buys a specific plan, all that stuff gets loaded into their account. So you're not rebuilding things over and over for every client. So it makes things very scalable.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks for that there. Any other questions coming in? Feel free to use the Q&A there. I'm going to ask kind of my initial question I had, especially when you were talking through the workflow. What, like, where in the customer journey, or like what type of almost lead offers where you're getting their information qualify for something like the Fast Five? Like, because I'd imagine if someone signed up for like a checklist of some kind, you probably, like, you're likely not asking for a phone number. And then two, that's going to be like almost like nuking an anthill. So could you tell me a little bit about like the types of offers that would make sense to kind of like have this Fast Five on the back end?
Yeah. So, your classic lead gen stuff, right? So if you're running for dentists and you're running a free teeth whitening offer, right? If we used to work with a lot of chiros and they would have a first visit, a $40 first visit promotion or something. Med spas would do like some sort of discounted Botox thing or whatever. All that kind of stuff where basically the goal of it is to, okay, you claimed something, now book in order to get the thing that you claimed.
Perfect.
Works very well for those types of scenarios. If you were just doing a lead magnet, like a PDF or whatever, yeah, you'd probably just ask for an email, automate back the email with the PDF, and then do, email automation from there. But you can take it in all sorts of other directions too, right? Like, check this out. This is a really cool service that would work great with a lot of businesses. Let me just hop into an account here. Let's go automation, and we'll just create one from scratch. And we go, okay, contact replied. Oops. Customer replied. And we're going to filter for the channel. Reply channel is Instagram DM and contains the phrase, hook me up, right? So what's happening here? Anytime someone DMs this Instagram, hook me up, boom, I can then automate back Instagram messages. So we see this all the time, right? You go to a profile and it's like, DM me whatever for my course access, my PDF, my whatever. We can run automated lead gen off of channels like Instagram and Facebook Messenger and stuff. And so, it's not just the old school tried and true stuff, but, we're getting into, and now TikTok, right? We've got TikTok lead ad integration, and we're working on TikTok DMs and stuff like that. But this Instagram one is, I showed this to, what's her name? I did a spotlight session with a big social media marketing influencer. And she was like, what? Wait a minute. What? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, wait a minute. So I can white label HighLevel and then go tell clients that I have software that enables them to build automated DM me campaigns. Yep. She's like, all right, I gotta go. She hung up on me. But again, think of how easy that is to set up, and you could go do that. You can do FAQ bots, right? If I'm working with restaurants, I would build automations that say, if a text message comes in and it contains the word gluten-free, automate back this message with a link to our gluten-free menu. You know how many times a day a restaurant gets asked about gluten-free? So you can save so much time through this type of stuff. James asked HL Pro Tools. Yeah, the second company is getextendly.com. They offer similar services as well.
Nice. Well, man, this was pretty epic. I'm like, it was more than just kind of like the fast ride. I think you delivered and more. I think a lot of the stuff you were sharing in terms of like the fundamental issues that agencies are seeing, why they're seeing them, and then how you can integrate this type of work was really eye-opening. I think for I can't speak for the attendees. I think they're loving it. Feel free to throw in the chat that it was eye-opening to y'all. But for me, even like, I'm like, gosh, like there's so many cool concepts that we could use to even help our partners out. in terms of like laying kind of the groundwork for things. So that was epic, man. I saw Tuck raised his hand. Tuck, was that just because you're like, yeah, this was epic, or did you have a question you wanted to jump in on? Just toss that in the chat real quick.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to know, like, throw a 5 in the chat if this resonated. I know that oftentimes it can be like shocking or like, wait a minute, I don't even want to hear that, right? Because I'm in traditional agency mode. I'm trying to build my, my SEO agency or my whatever agency. The other thing that I would say is we build a lot of websites, which I loved. I really loved building websites for companies. But nowadays, man, I wouldn't even sell just a website. Right?
Mm.
I would sell the system of a website with a chat widget on it, with a trackable number that's going to automatically text people back, with the social landing page, all this stuff as a website on demand that is, again, a monthly service, right? So hopefully this has been eye-opening. Whether or not you use HighLevel, hopefully you can figure out a way to deliver some automated stuff on day one that's going to start producing for your clients. Why did the influencer hang up? She hung up because she had to go. She told me, I need to go talk to my husband. And she was excited to sign up to start her white label so that she could start selling her new software solution.
I think in the SaaS business, they call that the aha moment.
Yeah.
So that was,
Well, that's the nice thing, right? Is because I don't know, has anyone in the chat ever tried to build a software? Like, it's super expensive, and product market fit is like the holy grail, right? Like, is there a market of people willing to pay for this thing that I think is going to solve a really important problem? And if you can't get product market fit, you just lost all the money that you invested in your idea. Well, HighLevel's already proven it, right? Like, the product market fit's already there. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of people every day using it and paying for it. So you don't have to worry about that. You can just jump right in and start selling. The best way to contact me, Chase at gohighlevel, or I am WC Buckner on Twitter, which is my social network of choice.
nice. And then Troy also asked, where can you see more of the possibilities and ways to implement for clients? I know you guys are doing, like, you do lots of spotlight stuff. You do lots of content on those. Any other places where you'd point him to figure out ways that and new ideas for him to implement for clients?
Yeah, I would check out our YouTube channel for sure. I would subscribe to that because we publish a ton of content there, but there are channels within it. One is the quick wins, which you can actually get to at gohighlevel.com/quick wins. And another really good one is, if you want to go further, this is called the Lead Gen Playbook bundle, and it's 9 modules. The first module is basically the stuff that we just talked about, and then it expands into more traditional agency stuff. So then it goes into pipelines and calendars and all that kind of stuff. And this is free. You can claim this, and you can go through the course and watch the videos. I'll throw the URL in the chat. Yeah, playbook's free. You can check it out. It's like, I don't know, 9 hours worth of content in there. So
Oh, that's awesome. Just gave some people some stuff for this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. There's another channel on our YouTube channel, called HighLevel How To's, and that's cool because there's a lot of just like interesting stuff in there that you might not have thought of, that you can watch and try out yourself.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome, Rick. Glad you were able
Awesome.
to get that going. Man, Chase, it's always a pleasure to be able to chat with you, have you share what you guys are doing at HighLevel and how to support the agency community. I truly do love what y'all are doing for the agency community. And really excited to see what you guys come up with in 2023. But thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for having us. We've got so much cool stuff in the works. One thing I'll point out really quickly, if we have a minute.
Absolutely.
This is fairly new, so I just want to make sure everyone knows that it's there. This is, if you're in SaaS mode. Hey, get out of my way, Grammarly. Oh, no. Sometimes Grammarly is, more
Overzealous.
pain than helpful. Okay, cool. So this is a sub account. This is our roll-up reporting. So this is something that I was like dying for so long, and now we have it. So you could come in here and you'd be like, okay, what do we know leads to churn? And for your agency, it might be phone calls. So we could say, okay, great. Show us the accounts with the lowest amount of phone calls first. So then I would know exactly which sub accounts that I need my account managers to spend time on, or I need to spend time on, because these people are at risk of churning, right? And I could do it for whatever metric I want. Maybe, it's for us, it's SMS. Okay, great. Show me the accounts that are not sending or receiving text messages so that I can figure out what's going on here. So stuff like that. We have a really cool. Oh, do you guys want to see something secret? I'll show it to you.
Oh, secret stuff.
Yeah. This is going to be unveiled at a mastermind that's coming up. And it's so cool. I'm super proud. Like scan tools where it's like you put in a URL and it spits out a report of like your website's slow and this and that. So we're building our own that ties to the things that I was just talking about, those quick wins. So imagine you run a report and it spits out, hey, you don't have a text-enabled phone number. Hey, if I call you and hang up, I don't get a text message back. Like, oh, you don't have automatic replies to certain questions. Hey, your reviews are not getting replies. Hey, you don't have a high-level I think it's going to check for a HighLevel and a Podium chat widget, because Podium does SMS off their chat widget too. Hey, you don't have Google Business Messaging enabled, right? So all this low-hanging fruit that you'll be able to scan and then use as a sales tool is coming down the pipeline. So there's so much cool stuff that, we're going to roll out this year that I can't wait for you all to see.
Dude, I can't wait to see that, because that will just sell. That will do the sales for you. Oh my gosh. That's so freaking cool, man. Again, like, thanks for sharing stuff under the hood too. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody for taking the time today to jump on. I know an hour of your time is very, very valuable. So thanks for all the attendees. Thank you so much, Chase. And we will see y'all next month for one of our online trainings.
Thanks for having me again.
Peace out, y'all.
See ya.